In this video we will create the empennage fairing, which is the section you can see above the horizontal tail here. So create a new geometrical set for that. And enter a sketch to draw the side view contours. Again, this is similar to the contours we've drawn many times before. I'm going to draw the top and bottom separate. They'll be in one sketch, but because of the distinct shape at the front, it's a little easier to get that shape using a spline that doesn't go all the way around. And then once we get that, we'll add the bottom. Make a couple fixes to the top here. And eventually we will, once we get that in place, we'll add tangents to the two splines so that they're continuous in slope. And it's also a good idea to just, since we got the top the way we wanted, we can just fix it using a fixed constraint. That way it doesn't move when we create the bottom. Now for the top view, we're going to use an airfoil for the contours. So I'm just getting the measurement of what needs to be there. And then we'll go to our Excel macro once we create a new part. Change the workspace there, I didn't mean to do that. Create a new part using this Excel macro with the dimension that we just found from measuring. It's 8.162 feet. Go through and clean up the tree a little bit here first. And I didn't change the macro to get this into the XY plane, which is what we want for a top view. So I'm going to rotate this instead of redoing the macro, or just instead of redoing the import with the coordinates in different columns. So I rotate it at 90 degrees. And again, it's good practice to create a scaling of this airfoil in case you want to scale it later. Right now you can just scale up to a ratio of 1. I'm not going to do it here just to save time. I've shown it before, but keep that in mind. Now we need to copy and pasted it as a result into this. If you're going to copy and paste as a result, I wouldn't do any of the scalings until you have it in this part. If you use a link, then you just have another part that you have to keep carrying around in your file directory. So to move it back to where we want, we're going to create an axis system. To do that, we need to draw where our x-axis would be, since it's not the standard x-axis. You press the little axis button in the bottom right corner, and you can select what your axis orientations are. I'm just going to add a point with a direction to get the y component, because the y component is the same. So that creates a little axes you can see there, x, y, z. Reverse the coordinates there so it's more aligned with the standard axes. And do the same thing here. The origin, since it's at the origin, can be just the origin. X-axis can just be the x-axis. So we'll just create a line from the origin point, direction, x component. Y can be the same thing, just y component. Okay. And did an axis to axis transfer there, which is, I got cut out of the video, pardon me, but if you go to the split command and go down 1, 2, 3, you can see the little 2 axes there. Click on that, and then you click on the profile you want, and then the original axes, and then the new axes, which would be the axes back here. And that'll transfer it. You can see more of that in detail in the structure section. If you can't figure it out from my description there. In the Laundron videos, there'll be lots of those. So here I'm just splitting all the guide curves. And now creating our standard camber line contour through the middle here, using our lines with the spline constrained to the midpoint of the line. Standard practice at this point. Once we get this, we can extrude the line and then project the airfoil onto that. Make sure it's not a construction object. Fairing camber line. Extrude it in the Y direction. Y component. Just far enough so that it's past the guidelines, or past the airfoil shape. And now we can project the airfoil using that button. Project it in the Z direction down onto this extruded curve plane thing. And now we'll split that in half to get a port side and a starboard side separate guide curves. Same thing with the other guide curves. Next step is to create cross sections. So to do that, we'll add a plane near the front and a plane near the back, in which we can make a cross section. Same procedure as usual. Enter a sketch, intersect 3 elements, draw an ellipse through them. Make sure that your ellipse is constrained horizontally or vertically. And do the same thing on the plane near the back. make sure that when you intersect the 3D element, that the points it creates are construction objects. And then make sure that your ellipse is not a construction object. Okay, that leaves us to create a multi-section surface using the guide curves and the cross sections we just created. We're going to leave the front and the back off. I'll show you how to do those in a second. So for the back, we're going to use a fill. Just press the ellipse and then the support, which is the existing part of the fairing. And we can move this plane back to get it into a closer approximation of the shape. Well, that's not the direction we wanted. There, that's close enough. Name of the game. In the front, we're going to do something similar to what we did with the nose cone. I'm going to split all of these curves so we just have this segment at the front. Have to do it one at a time. Once we have all those, we will fill in each section using the 3 curves that enclose a section, adding some tangency supports, as you'll see. So here we're going to add this tangency support, which we'll hide later, and that one. We're just extruding those in the Z and Y directions. And then we also need to split. See if we can, and it's not going to let us, it might. See if we can just split it with those curves. But we're going to split it with the camber line plane extrusion. Okay. And then along with this plane, that'll give us the quarter section. Same thing for the bottom half. And now fill in this section. So you press the curve, then press the tangent. And there you go. Again, it's the port and starboard sides are symmetrical, so we only have to do half of them. You can do all 4. That probably end up showing all 4. Just for the sake of it. Now, you can use the existing parts as tangents once you have them. Like I'm doing there. Again, curve, and then the support surface. And it automatically fills in that as a support. Now we'll take all of our pieces and join them together. And that concludes the making of the empennage fairing. You can see some creases in there, and I tried a couple times to get those out. I'm not sure why they're there. Perhaps just the lack in symmetry from top and bottom, but our horizontal tail is going to be there, so I'm not too worried about it.